People are saying things like, I was probably having an affair when I killed Marcus in the hospital, etc. In his conversation with you, Rodney Howard-Brown confused you with Jimmy. Rather than you, he informed Jimmy Doug was texting me. Without ever having slept with me, he ended our relationship. Just a nice guy all around. When we were married, we finally had sexual relations. Salutations! It's heartbreaking to witness a once strong Christian crumble, and not only due to external pressures, their decisions also played a role. That has been the case between Daystar and Joni Lamb since the year 2024. I could have prevented what we have witnessed, which is tragic in and of itself. Daystar was long considered to be among the most prominent Christian television networks globally. People gathered from all corners of the globe to hear sermons, view church services, and empowered to persevere in their religion. But things have changed. A cloud has rolled over the minister. It would appear that Joni Lamb is not handling the scandals in a modest and forthright manner. It appears that she is actually digging herself a deeper hole. Truthfully, this was unnecessary. Public leadership is challenging in and of itself, but a person's resilience in the face of adversity reveals much about their character. The Bible says in Proverbs 11:2 that pride leads to shame, but humility leads to knowledge. Unfortunately, Joni's recent actions have demonstrated far more pride than humility. The way she has chosen to resist is the most concerning thing. Instead of addressing concerns or clearing the way for duty to be performed, she has gone on the offensive. Because you are a leader and a Christ figure in a church setting, some people are watching you, and that is not only risky, but dangerous. Daystar has recently seen a significant exodus of clients. Famous people who used to stream on the network, such as prominent Christian groups, are no longer involved with it. They should have been roused from their slumber by that point. Most of the time, when people's trusted groups disband, it's because they witnessed something disturbing happening behind the scenes. Those exits gained a lot of attention due to their media coverage. Rodney Howard-Brown was among the first to depart Daystar before things truly went south, but few people know this. Already a divisive figure, Rodney is well accustomed to criticism. However, many were taken aback when he suddenly left Daystar, where he had been a regular. People know Rodney as someone who has strong opinions and speaks his mind. His breakups with Joni and Daystar beg the question, why? What gave him that knowledge? Did he see anything? A rapid escalation occurred. Despite the fact that the situation was unexpected and extremely heated, Joni decided to handle it publicly. In her criticism of Rodney, she was extremely harsh. When she accuses him of spreading false information about her, the situation becomes extremely uncomfortable. According to Joni, Rodney spread rumors that she and Doug Weiss had been texting inappropriately and having sex. Not only is it distressing, but Doug Weiss and Joni had recently grown close, so this accusation carries a lot of weight. Concerns regarding their friendship were voiced by some. Members of the group exchanged photos, stories, and whispered conversations. Instead of handling the stories calmly, Joni scolded Rodney. You will soon be able to hear the sound and make up your own mind. But first, let's pause and consider this. This is Christian television. Leadership, pastoring, evangelism, and teaching are the responsibilities of those in these positions. However, they are publicly picking each other apart rather than being mature and kind. Sad as it is, it sets a terrible example for the rest of the world to see. What kind of example are we setting when we accuse each other in this way? By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another, not by how big your ministry is or how many followers you have, but by how you love. What a waste of time. We can't ignore the fact that Daystar employees are quitting for unknown reasons, whether it's Rodney Howard or other groups that haven't addressed the public yet. This is becoming a pattern. Something has changed and an issue has arisen. Spiritual leaders should do better than Joni, who is trying to portray herself as the victim. When things go wrong, they ought to be the ones to confess it first, not last. Paul lays out the qualifications for church leaders in Timothy 3. He says they should have dignity, self-restraint, honor, and a lack of aggression in favor of kindness and a lack of a propensity to fight. Damn, that's terrible. That's a decision. Instead of seeking the truth and forgiving, leaders abuse their power to attack, accuse, and defend themselves. Not all rumors are true. Some are more accurate than others. We should exercise caution. However, one thing is certain, the fruit is being truthful. According to Matthew 7:16, you will know them by their fruit. We should consider the kind of ministry we are observing if its output is hostility, strife, and a lack of unity in society. Listening to this recording of Joni yelling at Rodney should make you think about this. Pay attention to the tone as well as the words. Be sure to pick up on the underlying emotion and tone as well. Do you have any opinions? Would you call this the Holy Spirit? Is this person the right person to lead the church at this time? The name of Christ is wounded when organizations fight, and not only their own. If we truly care about the church, we will not continue to let ego and drama dictate our actions. The audio file is here, all right? In case you haven't heard it yet. It's the things that are being said, like how I probably killed Marcus in the hospital because I was having an affair, blah, blah, blah. And Rodney Howard-Brown got you and Doug mixed up and told Jimmy that Doug was texting me. He never sexted me. He is a pure man. We didn't have sex until we got married. It's a lie that he was sexting me in January after Marcus died in November. The lie spread because Rodney told other people, and those other people said, "That's the damage you've done to me and the damage you've done to a godly man who has integrity and is known for his integrity." When you're a spiritual leader, everyone looks closely at every choice you make, whether it's in public or in private. People are watching not just because they're interested, but also because they want to know what it means to really follow Christ. That's why so many people were upset by Joni Lamb's story in 2023. Just about everyone was shocked when Joni Lamb, co-founder of Daystar Television and widow of Marcus Lamb, said she was dating Dr. Doug Weiss. On paper, Doug isn't just any person. His name is known as a Christian sex therapist, and he has years of experience helping people. But when Joni announced they were dating, many Christians were confused. She explained it as what she believed to be a God-ordained relationship. I think a lot of people were caught unawares. Remember that Joni lost her husband Marcus in 2021? Not only did he lose something, but so did the world and their faith. Many followers looked up to and trusted Marcus because he was the face of Daystar. His death left a huge hole in Joni's life and the service they had built together. When Joni returned to the public eye with a new boyfriend just 2 years later, it made a lot of people feel a lot of different things. It happened so fast. Some were sad for her and wanted her to be happy again. But there were many who voiced grave concerns. Was she rushed because she was alone? Was this the right decision? Did someone take advantage of her grief? What could be worse? Behold the mess that is loss. There is no way to put a date on it. Ecclesiastes 3:1 and 4 states, "There is a time for everything, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance." Many felt that Joni had rushed past the grief phase and into an unprepared chapter. As a spiritual guide, her choices have an impact beyond her own life on many people. And then there's Doug Weiss. Look, we all have flaws and stories, but being a public figure, particularly a Christian leader, means that people will talk about your past. Doug's divorce from his first marriage made people look twice. Divorce is a sensitive topic in the church, though the Bible does allow it in certain situations. See Matthew 19:9. It also warns us to be careful, particularly when making new promises. People were curious about his past and his intentions when he began dating Joni. Was it truly about love and service, or was it more about power, fame, and getting on Daystar's huge platform? What's even more tragic is that the opposition wasn't just from outside, it came from within her own home. Apparently, Joni's children, who were still grieving the loss of their father, disapproved of the relationship. Not only were they unhappy, but they were also very worried. Having grown up in the church, they knew how things worked behind the scenes. They saw this new relationship as a negative sign. Doug appeared to be a risk, having recently emerged from a failed marriage, and was assuming a powerful role with their mother 2 years after their father's death. This fact couldn't be ignored. Desire without knowledge is not good. How much more will hasty feet miss the way? The grown-ups asked, their concerns about Daystar's future and their mother's health, touching on topics such as feelings, the church, family history, and the message this relationship was sending to the world. As they observed this unfold, many found solace in the words of Proverbs 19:2. Was Joni acting impulsively? Had she allowed her emotions to rule her decision-making instead of exercising her rational mind? What went unspoken but was crucial is that quietly, Pastor Robert Morris, a revered Christian leader who has known the Lamb family for many years, was rumored to be dissatisfied with the romance. He refrained from publicly criticizing Joni or Doug. Those who knew him well said he was troubled, but he kept his concerns to himself. This says a lot about Robert Morris's history. Robert doesn't pass judgment without considering all the angles. He is a shepherd who believes in mending, restoring, and doing things according to God's will. For Robert, it wasn't about how others saw him. It was about what the Bible said. I have the right to do anything, Paul says in 1 Corinthians 10:23. But not everything is beneficial. Joni had the freedom to start a new relationship, but it didn't imply it was the best course of action at that moment. Robert believed she needed additional time to grieve, heal, and handle Daystar delicately. This was for her own sake and the sake of everyone following her journey. People were watching, even though she didn't want them to. Ministry is about more than preaching and broadcasting. It's about being truthful and following Christ in all aspects of life. Additionally, situations like these reveal the true nature of leadership. Daystar is still reeling from the fallout of this romance. Viewers are divided. Supporters fail to comprehend. Meanwhile, the Lamb kids, who were once regarded as the network's potential future stars, find themselves caught in a tempest of uncertainty, wrath, and grief. Beyond the plot of Joni and Doug's story, this is also a story about the consequences that follow when religious leaders act unilaterally without considering the consequences for others. It's a story about being compassionate when you're sad, about having courage to ask difficult questions even if they hurt your feelings, and about being wise because the Bible warns us not to believe every spirit. We do not mince words. Rather, we pray for leaders who demonstrate Christ, not merely charismatic ones. Therefore, we do not rush to judgment, but we do pay attention, 1 John 4:1. Regardless of your stance on Joni's choices, one thing is certain, her story is far from over. As Christians, we must remain grounded in the truth and walk in step with the Spirit. Let us not confuse public speaking for God's support, for no one in Christian leadership is exempt from making personal choices. When Joni Lamb, co-founder of Daystar Television Network and widow of Marcus Lamb, announced her new relationship with Christian sex therapist Doug Weiss, the church was shocked. Some whispered or raised their voices in silence, but others spoke out loud. Among those who spoke out loudest was Rodney Howard-Brown. Now, Roger is no ordinary pastor. He has a long history of preaching and a large congregation. P.O. Upon learning of Joni's relationship with Doug Weiss, Roger remained silent and observed the unfolding events. However, Roger believed it was his duty as a leader and Christian brother to voice his concerns, and so he did just that. Rodney publicly warned Joni, not only in private, about the immorality of beginning a new relationship so soon after Marcus's death. For Rodney, it was not a matter of personal choice, but of morality. He worried that becoming involved in something so public, particularly with someone with a troubled past, could have negative consequences for Joni and the Daystar mission overall. The specific things that concerned Rodney included what people, particularly those who were faithful to Marcus's memory, might do in response to the news. Rodney considered the financial aspect as well. If viewers and donors withdrew their support from Daystar out of fear, the organization could suffer a financial loss. But his biggest concern was that the ministry that Marcus and Joni had worked so hard to establish could be tarnished by a scandal. But Joni didn't take Rodney's counsel as he intended. Anyone familiar with Joni Lamb knows that she isn't easily swayed. Her resolve is unwavering, and she is certain that she is called to this. Joni mistook Rodney's attempts at warning her for anything other than a call to action. Instead, she felt judged, trampled, and perhaps betrayed. Joni made it plain that she had prayed about staying with Doug. She said her mind and heart were at peace. Who could question her peace if God was giving it to her? She even spoke publicly in support of her choice. People were told to give her space and believe that God was leading her. Things get even more confusing from here on out. In Christian leadership, choices aren't really choices. People watch and rate every move a leader makes, like who they date, marry, and how they spend their time. That's the price of power. When Joni asked them to stay out of her private life, many people said, "That's not how this works." And for many, it wasn't just Joni's choice that mattered, she chose them. Doug Weiss is well known as a Christian counselor, particularly for sexual addiction, but his personal life hasn't always been as stable as one would expect from a minister. Doug and his wife were married for 30 years before they divorced. Some were not turned off by this, but others saw it as a red flag, especially since he was a Christian therapist and marriage counselor. Some began to doubt his capacity to guide others in their relationships if he himself couldn't maintain a healthy, godly marriage. Joni's mental clarity was also questioned. She was still grieving the loss of her husband Marcus. Were her haste because she was in a rush? Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it, says Proverbs 4:23. Then, a letter allegedly arrived amidst the chaos, containing explosives. The letter claimed that Doug Weiss had taken advantage of Joni when she was in a very bad place in her life. Claims state that he saw an opportunity to join one of the most important Christian media sites. If even part of the letter is true, it would make a big difference. It would imply that Joni might not have been in charge of everything. She might have been a victim while she was feeling her weakest. Such deceit hurts deeply, not only in a human, but also in a spiritual and business sense. I find myself questioning whether Joni was truly being guided by the Spirit or by her emotions and the influences of others. Doug appeared interested in you, but was he truly in love? These were not idle questions, they were legitimate concerns that needed to be discussed openly. As time went on, it became apparent that Joni's decision was impacting more than just herself. It was influencing her family, her staff, her fans, and even Marcus Lamb's spiritual message. Those who had admired Daystar for years were suddenly confused. Was this the same ministry? Was the idea still there, right? Did it gradually evolve into something else? Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, says Romans 12:2. Then you will be able to discern and affirm what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. That's what many wanted Joni to do, to reflect, to wait for God's perfect timing, not merely a peaceful feeling, but a deliberate decision grounded in knowledge and community responsibility. Rodney Howard-Brown attempted to make Joni more accountable, but she resisted. Their once strong relationship deteriorated. Despite their mutual respect as fellow ministers, they had problems communicating and getting along. It's sad in many ways. That's the worst part of it all. Story. Two people who used to work together in ministry are now on different parts of a very public clash of ideas. There is more going on here than just Joni and Doug. It's about what happens when loss, being in charge, spiritual guidance, and public scrutiny all come together. It's about how tough it is to choose well after your heart has been broken. It's about how dangerous it is for powerful people who don't listen to good advice. It also serves as a warning to all of us, no matter who we are, that the decisions we make mean more than we think, especially during times of grief and change. This could be the time for Joni to hear more of the right voices, voices that care deeply about her wholeness, her calling, and her legacy, not just her happiness. As the Bible says, where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. It doesn't just affect the person making the decision, it affects everyone in the church. This is especially true when the decision has to do with relationships or way of life. Many are also curious about the implications of Joni's connection for Daystar's leadership at this time. What does this mean for the network's reputation, reach, and impact with viewers? Will this herald a new era of growth for the network, or will it cause irreparable harm? Daystar has long been a trusted voice in Christian television. Millions of viewers have tuned in to be inspired, pray, learn, and feel connected. Many looked up to Marcus and Joni Lamb as spiritual parents due to their marriage and ministry together. Their united front demonstrated faith, family, and a common goal. As a result, when Marcus passed away in 2021, viewers felt the loss. It was a tragedy that Christians around the globe experienced, not just for Daystar, but for Christian television in general. Since then, Joni has been through a lot. She has led a global mission while also dealing with her husband's grief, which few can even begin to comprehend. She has had to be strong for herself, her family, and the church. The spotlight has been on her the whole time, and it rarely goes away. So when word got out that Joni had begun dating Doug Weiss, a Christian author and psychologist known for writing about marriage and purity, some were nice and said that Joni should be happy and get over her partner's death, while others weren't sure. Some were worried, but not because they were being cruel. Is this relationship starting too soon? Should such a powerful ministry align with Doug Weiss? In the eyes of viewers, contributors, and ministry associates, what message is this sending? What about Daystar's mental, spiritual, and financial well-being? The timing raised questions. Some thought Joni went from being divorced to dating very quickly, especially considering how well-known Daystar is and the ideals it has long stood for. Many wondered if this relationship could hurt the network's image more than help it, considering Doug had been married for 30 years and then divorced. Then the bigger questions came up. People began to argue about whether Joni's choices might cause Daystar's loyal fans to lose faith in her. This got everyone talking. Do you think these are minor concerns? It's crucial to believe and be honest in Christian broadcasting. The goal is hurt when people start to doubt the leader's intentions or heart. This can lead to fewer gifts, partnerships, and loyal viewers. Joni has publicly stated that she prayed about the relationship and feels at peace with moving forward with Doug, but that hasn't stopped the arguments from getting worse. It's hard to keep the line between private and public when personal choices impact. Being a boss doesn't diminish the need for love and healing, but being a leader also means being more closely watched and meeting higher standards, especially in service. Being in the public eye makes everything you do misunderstood, emphasized, or judged unfairly. That's why Joni's story is so difficult to understand. On one hand, she's a woman going through love, loss, and mending. On the other hand, she is the public face of a global Christian network that many people look to for spiritual direction. There isn't an easy answer as these two worlds collide. Additionally, there is a larger debate in the Christian world about how public figures should cope with grief. How long is enough time to wait to be recognized? Who gets to decide what's best for changing things and starting over. People expect Christian leaders to be flawless all the time, but that's not realistic. Christians are human, and that means they hurt, are sad, confused, and make choices that others don't always understand. The friendship between Joni Lamb and Doug Weiss shows us that grief isn't linear, and that being a leader doesn't make it easy to deal with loss. This friendship also challenges the Christian community to consider how they respond when leaders show weakness. Do we extend grace? Do we reach out to them, offer prayers, and try to understand their struggles before passing judgment? One thing is certain: Daystar is at a turning point. The network must decide its future course. Will it prioritize integrity, fairness, and accountability, or will it allow individuals to subtly shape their public persona? Joni is under a lot of pressure, with her personal life in turmoil and a global mission to shoulder. Fans of the show are worried, confused, and hopeful that everything will work out in the end. Ultimately, this story is about more than just Joni and Doug. When you combine faith, leadership, love, and loss, what do you get? It's about the difficulty of following God when everyone is watching. Keep in mind that even powerful people need space to heal, grow, and make mistakes. Will Daystar survive all this? Who knows? But one thing is certain: the way. People all across the globe who are seeking genuine faith in their daily lives are watching how Joni and her ministry deal with the upcoming events in the story.